Big broadcast lined up for you today, and it is the best of times. It is the worst of times. There's a lot of opportunities for liberty. Never before has there been such a new golden era forming of human communication. That you've got the accelerated dumbing down on one side, while you have the accelerated awakening on the other. And I just want to stay on the side of the accelerated awakening and all the interesting things that are happening and the marvels that we're seeing unfold, because the more tyranny the system puts in place, the more their approval rating drops, the more people in the system wake up and realize it all really is a fraud. And the more people realize that the criminal justice system at the federal level is completely a hoax with parallel construction, staged, rigged judges, rigged everything. People realize the government's out there setting up libertarians and conservatives. They realize that there is a fifth column within the libertarian conservative movement, basically FBI agents and others that are batting for the other team, the collectivists, the takeover. There are a lot of good people, though, in different government agencies, in the FBI, you name it, because I've met them and know some of them. It's a battle in each and every heart and soul and mind, and none of us are perfect. But what matters is you got to care about the little guy. You got to care about justice. You got to care about wanting to build others up and wanting to have a better world. Don't be a hater. Haters are just soulless, borderline personality disorders, narcissists, sociopaths, psychopaths, and this sick plastic culture is manufacturing them. The numbers in every metric are just going up and up and up. Whereas maybe you had one psychopath out of a couple hundred people. Now it's one out of maybe 50. In the past, you might have had maybe one sociopath out of 30 or so. Now it's maybe 2 out of 10. They're just robots. They're not even real. And I feel so sorry for them because they're so dead inside. But they're always putting off a facsimile of why they're doing something for a moral reason for those they're trying to advertise for. But they're like lanternfish, anglerfish, not very pretty souls. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you're listening to a red-blooded transmission. I love life. I love the gusto of a good fight. I love liberty, and I absolutely hate tyranny. Groups of gangs and thugs out ravaging the societal countryside, and I am here to try to wake the country folks up to get their pitchforks and to culturally storm the castle and return the kingdom of humanity, return this republic to something that looks a little bit more like a free country and not a nightmare 2.0 1984. I've told everybody the last few months my spider sense has been off the chart for this country and this world, because the narrative is wearing paper thin now, like Bible pages, on how our government, criminal elements of it, are publicly funding Al-Qaeda, known as ISIS. And we played that clip yesterday twice. I watched it again last night when I couldn't sleep in the thunderstorms. It was like the end of the world or something. We're so intense here for like 6-7 hours straight. I got up at like 3 in the morning, stumbled down to the computer, and I went back and I watched the hearing from Tuesday with the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Dempsey. And I've watched a lot of his testimony, so I know his body language. And I have a lot more respect for him after I learned that he went to Obama 15 months ago and they're about to strike the Syrian military for no reason so that Al-Qaeda could take over. And our military said, we're not going to do it. Dempsey came and said, this just cannot happen. That even came out in the press later. But they're back now. They've rebranded it. Okay, we have to put troops in on the ground and bomb things, as Dempsey said in the hearing yesterday, to remove the bad rebels that are 90+%. And Schaefer, Colonel Schaefer was saying that last week. It's now in the news. They're saying 80+%. And they just blew up last week the entire rebel leadership that wasn't wanting to blow up every church they found. Even the supposed non-radical Wahhabis are just absolutely bloodthirsty out of their minds, clearly. I mean, it's not propaganda to say these people are literally out of their minds. It's like they're on PCP without taking it all the time. Just a scourge. And criminal elements that run our government that want to take our liberties are funding them. And General Dempsey, can we find that again and play that? Thank you. They already had it ready. They never know where I'm going next. I'll have all this news to cover, and I just went off in this direction because if you know what you're seeing there, if you watch enough of these armed services committees in the Senate, Lindsey Graham, the chicken hawk, is up there, Mr. Amnesty. Mr. says he's for guns, but then votes against them. He's up there, and he's saying, well, there's really no evidence that, there's anybody helping ISIS, any of our allies. And he's, well, yeah, no, some of our allies are harming them. He's like, wait a minute, let's not, get on them here. I mean, they just made a mistake. And Dempsey is just looking at him like, you are the biggest liar on the planet. Because it is just a total joke. 90% or more of the military knows the whole battle plan because they know how the military operates. They know the players. They study it. Even if they're a private that's only been in a year, they know the players. And Dempsey knows, whether he's a good guy or a bad guy, that this is crazy. This is like a headline today, Infowars.com from Gateway Pundit. Actual headline, global warming likely to cause colder and snowier winters, scientists say. You just can't make this stuff up. And that's from AOL. I mean, it's just, that's 2 + 2 = 5. It is absolute premeditated bull. They said in the 60s and 70s it was an ice age. So we had to tax carbon and stuff and have global government. Then they said it was global warming. Now it's just change, period. Folks, the planet's always changing. And it's not that we don't have real environmental issues. It's that they just want to hijack it to run society and exempt themselves from all the regulations they put us under. And then it's called feudalism. It's called serfdom. It's called game over. The government is illegitimate. It's exempt. The Fourth Amendment, it just spies on everything. It creates fake court cases. I mean, it's in AP and McClatchy and Reuters for 2 years, and Wall Street Journal, what I told you 15 years ago, because I was told this by federal agents who were retiring. And one of them was high level, and he said, you'd have to be a criminal now to join this and be part of it. And he said, I just hope I can make enough money in retirement as a consultant to get out of here. That's an exact quote, to get out of here. One of my dad's friends. To get out of here. Well, guess what? That was 20 years ago, folks, or longer. Most of them got out of there at the high levels, and it is just packed with sociopathic criminals that will do anything and love hurting good people and love being able to carry out psychopathic operations and not get in any trouble for it. It's just a wonderland. And there's still a lot of good people at the local level, even at the federal, but they're not running things anymore. The bad guys are in charge. But they got arrogant, like criminals always do. They got arrogant. So they get up on television and they tell the world that we've got to bomb the rebels to stop ISIS when the rebels are ISIS. They tell you 2 + 2 = 5. I know I harp on that. It's just that it is the attempted overthrow of reality. It is a war on reality, a war on decency. Man, they'll catch an old guy out on the back 40 driving down the roads, had 2 beers, and they'll charge him, $10,000, $15,000 on the DWI and put him through that. Or they'll catch some teenager, with some drugs that some government person sold them down the chain, and they'll throw them in jail for years and ruin their life, and they'll never be able to get a good job. But it's okay. The government publicly ships in the majority of the narcotics, and everyone knows it. I've never talked to one cop didn't know that since the 30s, the narcotics are brought in by government syndicates for private interest and laundered by the same banks that run the country today. And all I'm doing is sitting here watching this country sink. People say, what are you for the drug culture? Absolutely not. But putting money in it and making it secret and making it dirty only increases the amount of money and only increases the amount of people that are going to use it. All the studies show that. And they've wrecked this country. There's more drug use now than ever. America uses more drugs than anybody in the world. Anybody. More alcohol. We beat the Russians now in guzzling. And Austin and New Orleans are the 2 drunkest cities of the drunkest country. We are a modern Rome sinking. And I don't want to sink. I don't want to see this happen. I don't want to be folded into a North American Union. I don't want to just live in a giant fishbowl where everything's got government systems hooked into it so they can frame anybody they want with all of these systems that take over your phones and your computers, ubiquitous everywhere. I've already had, as soon as we went to the NSA, and it doesn't intimidate me, it freaks me out. We sent our crew to the NSA, Weldon and others, Anthony Gucciardi, all the phones got taken over. Mine got taken over that next day, and they were typing stuff and sending emails. And I took it into Apple, into AT&T, and they go, yeah, your phone's been taken over. It was just adding contacts and changing names, shooting stuff everywhere. I live this, ladies and gentlemen. I go through this where the hacked phone number calls you and it's not telemarketers. It's like, and I'm not freaked out by that. It's not scary that somebody's calling up, breathing on the phone or threatening me. It's scary that they got so much scum that won't just get out, in the street with me. If they want to attack me, they will sit there and creep around in the darkness with a big, giant, rotting, evil government, having no idea that what they do will come back on their children. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. Everything you do comes back on your kids and your family. Everything. Even laziness, just everything comes back. And I'm not on some high horse here. I'm just really worried about a country where pure evil runs things. And in the name of diversity, in the name of racial equality, they promote racial division. In the name of stopping drugs, they ship in the drugs. In the name of stopping terrorism, they create it and promote it and open the door for it. And all they do is attack men and families and then attack women's biology and just add chemicals to the food and water and estrogen mimickers and all of it. And it goes on and on and on and on and on, attacking in this globalist offensive of crazy technocratic scientists playing God, absolutely carrying out their craft of corruption. Trampled and being trampled upon. America is going over the edge. Newt Gingrich is in the news today, warning the Republicans that they'd better come out and sound revolutionary or the whole country's going to disintegrate. That's Newt Gingrich that's called for world government in 3 books I've read that he wrote the forewords to. That's the guy that said soon the whole population will be microchipped in the 80s. That's his goal. And that is an avowed world government promoter. But he fills the place of a conservative so people think, oh, there's opposition to the people that call themselves liberals. We're just talking about reality. If you've studied history, this repeats itself over and over again. And they sit up there in the controlled media talking to you like your children. There's no global government. There's no secret elites meeting. There's no Bilderberg. There's no Council on Foreign Relations. 20 years ago, they said there is no CFR. He's crazy. He thinks there's a CFR. He's crazy. He thinks the Federal Reserve isn't federal. Now, everybody knows it's private. Literally, over 90% in polls. And want it audited, over 90%. Look it up. By the way, Ron Paul's bill, he's on House, but it's his bill he wrote. He's retired. House approves Ron Paul's audit the Fed bill. Bill approved, 333 to 92. When he first would introduce that, like in 1996, he'd get one vote. His. Wow, look at that. 333 to 92. See, they'll block it in the Senate, but for how long? See, because they audit you, the IRS audits you, and you know the same year the Federal Reserve took over, we got the IRS. And that money goes to them, and it goes so they can selectively enforce the code and shut down their competition, and they do. Because we act like a nation of chumps that believe in the system. Well, this system isn't America. It's been replaced pretty much, and now they're getting rid of what was left. And the country will collapse into a third world slum. And the globalists want it that way. They'll live in their armored citadels in their capital districts under Agenda 21. That's not from Hunger Games. I'm not quoting Hunger Games. That's in the biological diversity assessments, the megaopolis plans. We've played the newscast, all of it. I mean, this is what they're going to do, okay? And they're not building some utopia so we can all play patty cake. They're putting in a high-tech grid to take control of the West, to then de-evolve it. But when you look at the third world, the old world, they will put you to the sword. They will bring in their rebels, they'll bring in their troops, and they will have the UN sit on the road to make sure you can't escape in Rwanda, and they'll send in the main group to kill every Christian they find. And the UN ran that massacre. They didn't screw up or stand down. They ran it. They killed a lot of the people. And an African wasn't even worth a bullet to them. They did it with machetes. And see, they don't want you to know this is going on, because as soon as they can get control here, all the stuff they do overseas, they want to do that here. And they want your guns. They can't stand it. Bloomberg with all his bodyguards, up to 15 of them, and Michael Moore with all his bodyguards, they can't stand the fact that they've taken your jobs, your industry, your country, your kids, your husband, your wife. They've taken your health in many cases. They've taken everything. And they know you're still clinging to Christ and clinging to self-defense. And the right that, by God, you still got guns when they took them from everybody else. This is a symbol of defiance. But they did take your church because they turned it to 501c3 and sent in preachers that are really government operatives. And they're hopping mad, folks. And I'm telling you, most of these big preachers are actually working for the federal government, for the FBI and their clergy response team and InfraGard. Just look it up. They're hopping mad that they want to have their conversion and their takeover, and we're here telling you. But here's the good news. I don't want to be the only game in town. The signal's been sent. It's been transmitted. People know the combo to the safe. They know the game. They know the tricks. They know how it works. We have decompartmentalized, and that's our real power. And we're imitated by all the other talk show hosts who now are competing with each other, who can put out the most reality and not get in trouble, while I'm vanguarding ahead with my crew, going over the top, telling the truth, to pave the way for all the cowards. Because most people that serve the system aren't truly evil. They're scared to death. Most successful people have sense. They have understanding. They have discernment. They have a sixth sense, and they can feel the evil. And they've made the decision to serve it. Man, that is scary. I would be scared to serve the evil or to run from it. My biggest problem is I want to run at it even harder, and I know that's not the smartest game. Paul Watson put the article out yesterday. I requested he do a report on this. He has. I want to thank Paul for his great work. Pound or hashtag declassify, campaign to reveal the 28 censored pages of the 9/11 Commission report. And then when you pound declassify, or when you hashtag declassify, it then sends everybody to Ron Paul, Rand Paul, Congressman Walter Jones that introduced this legislation, Colonel Schaefer, and countless others exposing what's really in the 28 pages, and that's that our government stood down bare minimum. Ron Paul has now come out and said, yeah, okay, 9/11 truth was pretty much right. There was at least a stand down. And Saudi Arabia was quarterbacking things, just like they're quarterbacking ISIS right now. And then why the federal government just loves it. The FBI doesn't have to go out and, manufacture any deaths. Doesn't have to find some mentally ill people to blow something up, or maybe the patsy speaks out and it gets embarrassing, so they kill them and dump them in Town Lake. I mean, they don't have to do that anymore. Because they can have real terrorists attack us. And everybody gets a big paycheck and gets to go watch Jack Bauer on the new season of 24 or whatever new show they'll have, where we learn to torture, we learn to do all these bad things because we're the good guys. It's not that we like to torture. It's not that we like to do all these bad things. No. Well, we're the heroes. That's right. Totally sick. And is that a world you want to raise your children in? Where there's just, the government does whatever it wants. They got a name for it. It's called nightmare. It's called hell. It's called a living, breathing, stinking mega hell. A total hell. And that's what we're entering. That's where we're going. We have to recognize it. We're not being negative here. We're breaking down what we as a society really face, where this journey is going, and all these cowards and all these children, adults that never had good mothers or fathers, who are arrested development, who are children. They see the state as their father, the state as their mother, and empowerment through the collective estate. Whether it's the controlled leftist or the controlled right, through authoritarianism, that's how they expand their empires of control freak behavior. And it's a society run by these people. Narcissistic, self-important, mentally ill monsters whose whole lives are based on betrayal, whose whole world is based on deception. That's not a world at all. That's hell. They're building hell on earth. They're working for hell. When Obama says forward, lean forward, an actual Stalinist, Leninist, even predates that, Marxist, with people in jumbo jets and red carpets at Hollywood events who are tax exempt and just roll around in giant buckets of fiat money, lecturing us with weird Karl Marx stuff about how our kids don't belong to us. Because, see, that's for us. We're going to live in a shack and eat GMO and die when we're 45. They're going to get all the life extension and just fly around up there laughing at us. And if we try to get together, well, they'll just send in some agent provocateurs to get a race war going, or to stir everybody up and balkanize us, or send in some other COINTELPRO or cognitive infiltrators, who they now announce, oh, the CIA is going to operate domestically with cognitive infiltrators in 2014. Oh, great. Isn't it wonderful? And, oh, it's not for Al-Qaeda. It's for you. You don't like Agenda 21. You found out it's real. You got the documents. You learned the zoning commission is getting flown off to New York and paid off to be part of this. You learned they're going to take over your whole town. Why, we'll just send in some FBI informants. That's another name for people that set people up and harass them and engage in criminal activity up against a bunch of old farmers. That's what's happening now. They send in these young bucks out of the universities that are little agents, little secret police, and they march out and go harass Tea Party events and go and mess with everybody. I mean, that's where we're going in this country.
Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfoWarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. And now you can protect yourself from corrupt cops with the InfoWars dash cam. It's your car's black box that records all that the driver sees and hears. And introducing the Block It Pocket. It renders your phone undetectable while protecting your private data and your health. Or take back your privacy and protect your personal information by getting your very own Detractor cell phone pouch. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.